So let's start with just brief intros. So I'm just going to share what we're going to do today. You'll hear from me. So what I'll be talking about is, in general, what I think is the best way to post the exam, what happens during the exam, uh, how you're going to do practice when you form in groups, how I want you guys to practice in groups. You can take down your email, the numbers, form the groups, find the partners to practice. Then you will hear from Sachin. Sachin is one of the other instructor. Then you will hear from Ramesh. Ramesh is also another instructor. Toby won't be here, but then you will hear from all students who cleared the exam, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. So just brief intro to everybody, your name, and that's it. Your name and when is your exam. That's it. That's only thing.
I'm taking the exam on 19th November. What else?
That's it.
I am 10 going for November clinical final exam.
Okay.
I am Gurjeet, going for November clinical.
Hi, I'm Sophia and I booked for November practicals.
Hi, I'm Marian. I'm taking the November exam.
Hello, I'm Sapna. Even I'm giving the exam.
Hi, I'm Bhumika and I'm going to appear in November clinical.
I'm Sheena. I'm going to attend June.
Dhanushri in November.
Rose, I'm taking an exam in November.
And Jazz in November.
Yeah, just
Abdullah,
Where's Bola? Where's
Abdullah, Rachel.
Rachel? Yes. Okay. We're just doing this Facebook Live for some people in Toronto. So I think most of us have already given the exam. I think 99% of the students here and in our batch have already done their exam once or twice. So they know what it is. So you have to make sure that people who are practicing physios, it's a bit tough. So remember, this exam is for students who have never touched a patient. So that's how it's designed. This is designed for students who have never seen the patients. You guys have done your masters, and stuff, bachelors, you've been practicing. So when you approach the exam, you approach it differently. The whole concept, it is, all these views are my personal views. Right? The concept of physio here is changing. It is changing from more hands-on skills to more patient education, your communication. Right? All of you have the hands-on skills. Right? But in the exam, it's about communication. When you see a new grad, so for example, when we hire a new grad, when you put them in a patient, they don't do much, but they just talk. Right? So that's sometimes that, when we say global rating, what does global score combine in the exam? I think the global score is your station marks, your hands-on skills, your communication, right? Verbal, non-verbal communication, right? And the education piece. So a lot of questions that will come is about education. Right? So you have to educate the patient. For example, we had a question mock. Ramesh posted this question was, a patient had a burn from a PT assistant. How are you going to communicate this with the patient? So these kind of questions that you have to make sure that you are able to do. So now I want everybody to just tell the class what has worked for you guys, what you think is good, what you think has not worked. Just share your experience. So this class is all about sharing experience. We'll go into practice, just be ready to, those who are not in our group, people in our course, fine, in the sense you can refuse if you're not comfortable in demonstrating in a group. But those who are in our class, when I say demonstrate in a group, you have to come and demonstrate. Doesn't matter if you know or not. So what has worked for you? What do you think? Just for example, some of them are just new. They're attempting the exam for the first time. What are your ideas? What has worked for you and what has not worked?
In gist, I have taken 2 attempts, and what I have seen there was a remarkable improvement in my performance from first to second, where I did work a lot on my communication, going and trying to have a script for each station and how I started and finished the station. My only thing was I think was lack of practice of clinical scenarios. That was there in the second attempt where I couldn't finish in the time. I knew what to do. It was so such helpless situation when you know what needs to be done. You know it has to start this way, end this way, and then you're not able to finish and close appropriately. That's what I was at such a narrow margin this time. But then yes, practice with this scenario. That's what I did. In my first attempt, it was almost there. In my second, it was almost there. So I think it's more of practicing with a script in mind and starting to end how to approach and finish the station. And it comes only when we practice in group, practicing lots and lots.
My issue with is we have discussed this thing with a lot of our team and stuff. The issues with script is that when you're practicing with a given script, the exam is not going to be according to that script.
Yeah.
Then, for example, myotomes dermatomes. You have a script for myotomes dermatomes, but the question won't be myotomes dermatomes. When you're practicing with a script and the question is a little bit different, then you can run off course, right? And then you get nervous because, oh, I've not done this. So when you have a question at the front and then you would think that you have not done this and you don't know, when you enter, you get nervous. And the examiner can sense your nervousness. I told my last batch too, be confident. If you are not confident, just fake your confidence. So at least if you do not know what to do, you have your mouth. You have your theory. You can just start talking about it. The examiner will say, look at the question once, and then everybody will be quiet. They will let you. But at least they'll know you're confident. You will get some marks, at least for speaking out, opening and closing stations. Script is good. But in your case, in our case right now, you have your scripts, good. But I want you to use your brain. So that's what we are going to do in our sessions too. When we practice, we're going to give you one question. We're going to give you 10 minutes to demonstrate. Then you're going to demonstrate, and then we're going to twist that question. So we'll put that question 4 to 5 times, right? Total knee replacement. Teach them 3 exercises. Okay. Teach them how to walk. Teach them how to sit to stand. Right? Teach them standing exercises. Teach them sitting exercises. Right? So things like that. So when scenarios change, you know. So concepts you need to understand. Okay? Total knee replacement. What do you need to do? You need to check DVT. You need to know that the flexion initially, first 1 week, shouldn't be more than 40 degrees. So, and precautions. If that precautions you know, you need to just give them easy exercises. Okay. So Jill, what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you? I don't want to know how many attempts or anything. Just want to know what has worked for you, what has not. If it's your first attempt, say, this is what I'm doing, it's my first attempt. But if it's your second attempt, just tell us what has worked for you and what has not.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of the secrets is showing them that you have a lot of confidence even when you don't know what to say. So there were also some instances wherein you know what to do, but then when you are faced with a situation and there was a twist in the question and you kind of get rattled, and it can easily, as you have said, it can easily be, for me, it shows in my voice, definitely, and they always can sense it. And then a lot of practice. I don't know how many times I have practiced, but then when you come to that point wherein even when you're reading the question outside of the door and you have that idea that you didn't practice it, or it what you practice it but only once and you don't have that confidence. When I came into the room, I was like, how do I start this, conversation? And then like the examiner was like, at one time was telling me, reread the question. So I kind of like, even when the examiner was like telling me for me to reread the question, it always like comes to that point that like my confidence level was already like going down the drain. So it's hard, but I think it's doable. But like when that nervousness comes in, it's a different story.
You just need to remember that if you practice for 1 year, there still will be questions that you have never heard about. That's the whole exam pattern. So there will be one or two, I hope, not more than that. There should be one or two questions that you have never done, you have never practiced, and you don't know anything about it. So when you go in the exam, just make sure you expect this. That there will be questions that you have never seen before. But right, nervousness is the number one, I'd say giant killer in especially international students. So if somebody says read the question, just tell them, tell your mind, nothing's gone wrong, you still have time, you can still do it. So the examiner says read the question and you're all nervous. I have seen in our mock exam, students, their legs shaking, and it was just one mock exam. The last mock exam that we did, we had 14 questions and everything, and their legs were shaking. So that's just because of nervousness. If you're so nervous in the mock exam, what are you going to do in the real exam? So
It's my third attempt. From my 2 attempts, I realized that the confidence is the key. So our language should be very open. Then whatever we are doing, we have to show that there is reluctance in doing the technique. If we start, we have to maintain the flow and go forward and forward. If you go forward and then suddenly changing and shaking, then the examiner knows that he is not sure about. Then the client will show that client will lose the confidence. So the way should be straight and the flow should be straight. They are not bothering about the extreme technique. They are looking for how you are approaching the components. For example, how you are supporting the client, then how you are holding the client, then how you are completing the station, then making sure that after that, asking the client, you understand everything. Okay, then looking for any increased pain, any discomfort, like these things before and after the task. That is the key. That's what I experienced.
communication is really important, and the issue with us is I'm very frank. Is if I'm the examiner. So, for example, if I'm taking an exam, I'm sitting there for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and there's a student and I can't understand their accent or I can't understand the way they're speaking. Would I make a lot of effort to do it? Probably I will, probably I won't. But you just have to make sure that when you're communicating in a way that is easily understandable. And the best way of doing is stand in front of a mirror and just speak. Take a question saying 20 minutes patient education on importance of exercise. Just keep speaking loudly unless you have that flow. The problem is that for me, for example, English is not my first language. Right? So when I'm thinking and speaking, it's breaking. I have to stop and think. But when you're a Canadian grad or something, the communication is so clear and then it's so precise, it's easily understandable, and then they can speak a lot. So some of the exams that I've taken and I see an international student, because they're nervous, they're not able to speak. They're not able to make the patient understand, because a lot of questions now I think, are going to be patient instruction. Tell the patient what to do. So the Alliance is looking for safety. For example, if we let everybody practice, will they be safe when they're treating the citizens? Citizens of Canada, Will they be safe in your hands? That's what they're looking. Basic stuff. Right? Are you able to communicate? Are you able to educate? So a lot. I want you guys to read the syllabus very carefully. So it's not about, so they have said hands-on skills, but when you read it, it's about patient interaction, formation of a plan, right? So all these questions, how to form a treatment plan, how to educate stuff, how to make goals, that's important. Right? Vijit?
I think my first attempt, I started well, but then there was a station. I checked the proprioception and I went there. According to I started on the right side, like the side that was affected, was a stroke patient, and the examiner said read the question, and I got confused. How come he's saying read the question? So I totally went out of track and started checking sensations and everything. So that like bogged down my morale, and the other two stations, next stations were affected, and I just failed by one station. If would have not said read the question, maybe I would have passed. But global was like passing score was 415. I got 427 global. But due to that read the question station, I messed up with the first attempt.
Any comments, Ramesh?
See, reread the question as such. See, I'm Ramesh. So I'll be taking some of your classes in this session. So reread the question means you don't need to get panicked. Sometimes what happens is they take it as a definitive clue for you. So he's trying to correct you or he's trying to save you time. So reread the question means you may be doing which has not been asked there. So that's why they will say reread the question. So it definitely is a clue. It's not to make you panic or anything. So because their accent may be like that, they are not happy with the remuneration given. So they say reread the question. Or you may be some 14th or 15th client. So they will say
This
reread
is
the
going
question.
out live on Facebook.
That's no problem. No problem. No problem. Yeah. So see, reread the question is a definitive clue.
I thought read the question is you are totally out of track.
No,
So it's not. It's a definitive clue. That's why take it in other way. It's a definitive clue for you that if you go like this, the probability of yourself reaching the point which has been asked may take more than the stipulated time over there. So it may be more than 4.5 minutes which has been allotted to you. So that's why they say reread that question. So proprioception is definitely a 5-minute station. So it may take more than that if you start doing. That means if you're doing on the other side, it may take time for you to compare and then get back. So they say reread the question. They might have said, say for example, if they say just test the proprioception for your ankle and knee. If you start with hip, they will say reread the question. So you should not get panicked that whether I'm doing the proprioception or they have asked reflexes. So you get panicked in that way. But what they are trying to say is that you are doing hip joint. We don't need hip joint because there is no hip joint to tick and mark that. So for him in the checklist there, he has only knee and ankle. So he has to tick only there. So once you start from the hip and then come to knee, you may lose some time. So to help you out, they say reread the question. So actually that is a helping hand from the examiner. But the accent differs. That might have made use of it. So where did you take? Okay, I should not ask this question, right? Yeah. Okay.
He was a East Indian examiner, so should not.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it's nothing but because when you're an examiner, all you can say is read the question, and that only you can say once, and then you can't say this again. But read the question doesn't mean that you're doing a big mistake. Again, I've had students who do range of motion, and then they start with goniometer. They're looking for. All I have to say is read the question. I can't say this is not a goniometer station. Read the question. So it means that you just have to do passive movements. So read the question can be a issue, but mostly time it's to save your time. Move on directly to the question, see what is asked, and just do the task. For example, when you have assessment, do an assessment for a patient who's twisted his ankle playing soccer. Okay? Finish with two special tests. So there will be a student, good morning, my name is this, and then how did it happen? When was the twist? How was the pain? What my response will be, can you please read the question? That's it. So if they're saying reading the question, this means that they're just trying to save your time because the station might be long.
This is my first attempt.
Oh,
This would be my first
okay.
attempt.
Good. So, what have an idea?
No, sir, I don't have any idea. This is the first time I've come for the practicals, and I hope to learn now. So, I've not done it.
Joy? Right.
So my problem was organization and time management. So first times I was given like 3-4 tasks, and then sometimes I spent on one task that I didn't have enough task to finish the rest. So that's what I need to practice on. But
How have you been practicing? What has worked for you? What do you think? So, what would you give advice to Sophia? Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We need to have like a buddy to practice on. So yeah, there's some vocabularies of the class that you need to work on.
Let me see what to think more about it.
Just have this one of it. Actually working on. Good for you. You have plenty of time.
Okay.
I gave my first attempt, and I think practicing for long hours helped me build my endurance, which was very, very important. Because facing 16 stations with so much of stress is really, really challenging.
And it's not 16 stations that you're facing. You know, you're facing 16 stations, but you're going an hour, 2 hour early.
Almost 6-7 hours.
6 hours. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're going an hour early with introduction and all your registration. Because when I did it, right?
Now, sorry, now we start doing that sequestration.
Yeah.
So we were like there at the station at 11 p.m. They were like, oh, just enjoy and watch movie, but to what? And we'll be starting.
Yeah, they play
We have that. We got in everything. Yeah. So it's stressful.
It's stressful.
We had to start at 7 a.m. and then the exam starts after 2 hours, stretches up to 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So practicing like last 15 days, we were actually practicing for 7-8 hours continuously as much as we can. And then I think in my case, what did not help was I wasn't much dependent on textbooks, my theoretical knowledge. And since 5 years of gap after my education, more in practice, I wasn't in touch with books. So that was a big drawback for me for this exam.
Okay, so what I found in my first attempt, like in 3-4 station, I have made mistake while reading the question. So because of that, I failed very easy station because of that my reading mistake. And
Why did you do the reading mistake?
so like as for example, there was one question. So it's regarding okay.
No.
As for example, like say there is a shoulder special test. So as I read the shoulder special test, so I thought, oh, I can do it, and because of that overconfident, I made mistake and I couldn't write that word, which is very important, and because of that, I performed the different special test, which is not related to that station. So because of that, I failed. So what I have found that just go there and read very carefully, be aware, and sometimes what I found that I speak very fast. So be aware of communication. Don't go very fast. So because of like if you are going too fast, then sometimes the examiner they don't understand, and sometimes the client he or she doesn't understand. So that's the problem.
Couple of things I think everybody knows, but it's my duty to mention is that this exam questions is a life, the secrecy of the exam questions is a lifelong commitment. So it means that even if when you have passed or when you're helping people, with these groups and stuff, You can never share these questions with anybody. The reason is not just because the alliance has said it. Yes, it's a rule, but it's also because we just want to make sure that it's fair for everybody. For example, if somebody's working, practicing for like 6 months, and somebody's just not even practiced for 2 days, and if they come to know these questions, it won't be fair for somebody that's been practicing for 6 months. And this is almost, a career thing. Right? So you just have to make sure from now in the class with the instructors, when you've passed the exams, when you're hosting a course or trying to help anybody, you never share the exact questions or anything that has come in the exam. Let that be, you can always make, so that will also discuss how to make your own mock questions and practice. So always make your own mock questions. You can make 100 questions on your own. But yes, reading is very important. Again, when you're practicing, you should be practicing as 1 minute to read, go in, 10 minutes out. Then again, another question, 1 minute to read. So when you're practicing, make sure you practice 2 or 3 questions in a row. So you have three. You need at least 3 people, not more than 3, not less than 3. Right? More than 3, if you have to, but not less than 3. I want 1 to be an examiner, 1 to be a patient, 1 somebody to be performing, right? And then you make sure that you practice 2 or 3 questions in a row, so that you have that thing in mind. Going out, reading that question, coming in, so that also needs practice. When you're observing people, right, make sure you write a lot of notes, observe, mark down their issues, and that will give you actually more practice. When you're performing, you would not know what you have done because all your mind is going to be in speaking and performing. Right? So make sure that you're observing too, and you're writing down what was wrong. How would I have done this? Right? So,
This was my first attempt. And what I feel is
a bit loud.
I was lacking in organization, and also I got a little bit nervous. So in the first station, I was told that I couldn't finish the first station. So I got a little bit nervous. And the second station, when I started the second station, I started asking the baseline questions. So there, the examiner, she said that reread the question. So I got a little bit nervous. Then I completed the station in a very fast manner. That is also, I can say, 1 minute before the time. And all the other station, I was rushed to finish, like 1 minute before that, based on this remark I got from the examiner. Then even 2 or 3 station, I added several things after I complete the station. When I couldn't see the prop, I didn't do environmental like scanning properly. That is an example, that is the inch tape was kept there for assessing the range of motion. I didn't see even the inch tape. I did the range of motion without that. Then I completed the station. Then after that I asked the examiner, shall I add after seeing the inch tape? Like that I do. So it was not organized and I was rushed to finish everything. It was not good. So I feel that I should improve strengthen my theory knowledge too. So I'm taking time. So I'm going to give my this time.
So I've done exams once. I think first time was better because you are like open and you don't have much of the anxiety of the second time. And when it is second time, I mean it can't be told actually, it can be felt. So anxiety is one thing you have, like I have to work on, and the other thing is organization, and along with that, like I think I miss few things. I think so that the tasks which are given were not completed fully because the anxiety is so much that you just you just can't take it. So that is the thing that you have, like I have to work on again. And then the other thing is because the language thing, because it's not our first language, so like thinking another language and speaking out your mind, and sometimes I feel that whatever the client is saying or the expressions they are giving, they don't match our expectations because culturally also, I mean, we think in a different way than the people here around. So I think more of patient interaction is going to help, and insight to
What worked for you? What do you think you did right?
the practicing. We had a lot of practice, and then we had a very good bond with each other. That is actually a big thing because when you trust somebody you're working on with, and that counts a lot. And like we all are moving towards a better thing, right?
That's good. That's
So
a
that's
very
the
good.
thing. Yeah, that's the support and faith you have in your group buddies, and I mean, you trust more on them rather than yourself. So, because you have, they are going to see how you're performing, right? You can't judge yourself. You can't check yourself. So the more critical they are, I think that's a better way.
You won.
Yeah, each and every point, I mean, it should be told and it should be checked on. This is what I think.
I think this is one of the big good points that I've come across is that when you're practicing in a group, you have to trust your friends, and you need to help them. I have seen in a groups there's just no need of this argument. I am right. This is the way. There's not one single way of doing it. Range of motion. When you practice, we'll show you like 10 different ways of measuring range of motion, or even just doing an active range of motion of the wrist. So there's not one single way of doing it correctly. If you're doing it safely, it's right. You have the skills, and this is not the time to actually learn how to do a new way of doing it. The way you've been doing your range of motion, that's fine. Do it that way. If it's not safe, we will let you know. But when you're practicing, you just have to make sure that you're trusting your friends, you're depending on your friends to tell them. Right? So if I am somebody's friend, I will make sure that I will give the feedback that I think she needs to improve. Right? I've seen people, oh, you're good. Oh, tum to pass ho jao. You're going to pass the station. So that's not right. That's not right. So every station, when you are observing, you need to give some feedback. Sachin, any word?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sachin Gupta. So I'll be in the ortho classes, and I know like everybody has done the good preparation, but in this exam, you need some I won't say scripted, but you need to know like in 10 minutes or 8 minutes what you have to do over there, because over there, if you're thinking what I'm gonna do, your time is gonna be lapsed. So in these sessions, like 10 sessions, you will be practicing so much so that you know what you're gonna speaking over there, so that you won't be struggling. I have seen like a lot of people, they have very good knowledge, but at the time of exam, I'm not criticizing anybody. Like a few of my friends, they have failed twice, and they have done MPTs, okay, and they are very good in the physio, but it's still there because over there they don't know the content, and they have a checklist. So when they have a checklist, they are just marking, and trust me, they don't see too much on the accents, but definitely communication has some marks. If you don't convey, he's not going to understand. And if he loses the rhythm, the examiner loses the rhythm, he would be taking you easily. And like he doesn't know like you are first time, second time, or third time. So trust me, it is a practice. Practice along with the stations, what you're going to do over there. A lot of people I have seen, they know the content and they are struggling in the introduction over there. So introduction, just 23 seconds, 40 seconds. So here, we try to finish all the content in 7 minutes, 8 minutes for the 10-minute stations. And like again, most of the people know the contents, but it is again a practice. How effective you do, how effective you are like experiencing these things like goniometer, muscle strength, what you need over there. For example, you have to do muscle strength, goniometer, everything. But what you're going to do first to pass that station. That is the most emphasizing thing. And here you have to pass the station. You don't have to pass 16 stations, 15 stations, or 9 stations. You have to pass. So target is 16 so that we will cross around 12 or 13.
I know, so this is the first time I've ever seen this. I know somebody was past 12 stations, and they're still not able to pass the exam. This is, to me, some like mind-boggling, because when you're passing 12 stations, this means that you know almost 80% of the stuff, but it's just the global rating. So that's why if you have the script, that's fine, but when you're practicing, make sure you practice the questions that you do not have a script for. Change your questions, make them more tough, add more scenarios, add more props. Another thing that I feel that I struggled with when I was doing my exam is the props, because I was not practicing, or I didn't know what a TeraWeb was, how to use a TeraWeb. There was a small ball, how to use the small ball, right? And then there was some other stuff. Right? So make sure when you're practicing, if you're going in a clinic or something, just go around, look at all the props, in a sense, exercise things, right? Not the equipment, the small things, the webs, the putty, the finger pulley, and everything, right? And then just play with it, and just make sure you know what these props are. So when you see that prop there, understand that they want you to use that prop. Right?
Yeah, this is like my first attempt.
So your name is
Rose.
Rose, yeah.
My first attempt will be on November.
Okay.
But I'm kind of hoping to build a network here and then practice with you guys. So, although I had my bridging program with UFA, so with, I'm hoping this will kind of help.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Tunde. This one is going to be my third attempt, and I noticed that number one, stamina was my problem. The first one, I didn't have much practice, so I wasn't expecting so much. But this second one, the first problem was stamina. Because,
What do you mean by stamina?
Yeah. I did it in Toronto, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning. Anxiety did not make me sleep, so I started sleeping around 4 a.m. and I had to wake up. So I just woke up at 6:30 and I quickly took my bath and dashed down. I got there around 7. Fortunately, the hotel I stayed in was about 5 minutes walk. So I got there. I was just telling myself to relax and relax. So fortunately, I was able to. I did well, but then I had the 10-minute stations first. So I was trying to cope. By the time I started having the 5-minute station, I was feeling dizzy. My head was light, my mouth was dry, and I was just asking for a cup of water after every station to dry my mouth. So I couldn't give all my concentration to the last set of stations. And so that's that. And I also feel it was as a result of the fact that I did not practice for long hours. So if I probably had practiced for long hours, probably I would have had that stamina to go on and go on and go on. So
Can I ask you a question? I know you you told that from anxiety, second stamina. Over there, I'm giving my example. Like I failed my written component first, and I got 320 marks. I had my result. A few of my friends have seen that. And when it was my first attempt in the written, I couldn't sleep the whole night, and I was prepared. Even like around 11 o'clock, I went to the bed around 9 o'clock, and I didn't get the sleep. 11 o'clock, I was feeling like I was prepared. My wife was with me in Edmonton, so I went to see the book. I thought like everything I remember. I didn't see the book, and the whole night I couldn't sleep. When I reached in the exam, I was 10 minutes late. I couldn't finish my exam. Second time, I prepared so well. Even I was working full time. So 10 days before, 15 days before, I thought I'm not taking my exam. I'm telling my real story first time. So my wife told, how long we are gonna do struggle. I'm gonna take your test now. And she's from accounting background. So she took like the Sullivan book or like some other books, Score Builder and some more. She was asking me questions. And when I was giving the answers, I was telling 4 options. What might be the 4 options without seeing the options? So my preparation went up to this high. Again, second time in the Edmonton, I couldn't get the sleep. Trust me, single second. And in the morning, around 8 o'clock, I remember when I was about to reach over there, I was feeling like darkness is coming in front of my eye. Darkness. Even like I went to the Tim Hortons, I couldn't finish my coffee because there is no taste, no freshness. I remember those moments. I reached in the exam. One of the guy was sitting just beside me, and he was very sarcastic. He failed, but like he was telling, "Oh, I couldn't. I just came like that." So my temperament was a little bit more high because if I get fail or something, he's gonna be sarcastic again. Something. I was doing my vignettes, and when I finished my exam 30-40 minutes before, and I thought like in some cardio vignettes I did wrong. First I did right. Finally I did wrong because of anxiety. And when I came home, so I was thinking this question wrong, this question wrong, this question wrong. Around 38 or 39 questions were wrong. Trust me. And I don't know like how people calculate. I remember my 200 questions on my tips. I calculate this one wrong, and I wrote like number. Like on the same evening, it was 28. After a couple of days, it was 38, 39. Oh Trust me. Then I thought I'm failed. In my multi-system, I was wondering and cardio was wondering. And trust me, when the result came, I passed. First of all, I feel happy. And when the result came, the detailed one, in multi-system, it was 585. And in cardio, it was highest. Why? The preparation was so high, even you do some mistakes, it will be acceptable. And the same thing happened within the practicum. We prepared very good, and 10 or 15 days before I was thinking, no, I should again postpone. But the preparation was so high. We failed. I failed too. One was eliminated, but still we passed. So if you prepared well, then anxiety is not in your hand, and you can't do any experiment over there. I'll tell you one thing. My wife was pregnant at that time, so I used to take Synthroid, and when I was writing my second attempt, I took her pills, and it gives dizziness because she was pregnant. And trust me, it happened with me. She told me, you took this one, and she didn't tell before the exam. When I came home, like in the hotel, then she told me, you took those pills and your pills in the bag. I said, but like God does something for good. I don't know, my anxiety was less just because of that. I was calm little bit, but it happened.
But you're not telling them to take the pill, right?
No, I'm telling like, there was a medication, my Synthroid. So I'm telling like, just prepare, concentrate on prepare, don't think about the exam. It is a do or die situation. For like if somebody is taking second or third attempt, but in the like before the exam, don't take any stress. Just concentrate on your studies. I understand like a religion comes first. For example, church, temple, mosque. At this time, you have like 2 or 3 months. If you can work on your studies, it would be better. Or like if you can manage everything, it would be awesome. But preparation is most important at this time.
Once we had this discussion class, and I once told a group of students that forget your husband, forget your wives, forget your children. The next day I got a call from husband saying that my wife is not giving me time, not doing anything, just studying. So, but this is going to be the most important time of your life. Right? Yes. So, as you know, third attempt is your third attempt, right? So there's almost 0% chance of getting a fourth attempt. Right? But this is what you have. So you need to, everything needs to be secondary. This is going to be in the front. So, and there's not much time. So this is the most appropriate time that you have. And then you just need to study, just need to focus. You need to be flexible. If you are working, You need to be flexible. Your job is not that important. Somebody was asking me, saying, "Oh, I have this job. I need to focus now on this." Yes, but you will have a job if you have a license. If you don't have a license, you won't have a job. Right? So this exam comes first. Everything comes second. If you have to tell your employer that I need time for this, your employer will or should understand that this is important. So if you have a group which you think is very good and you want to practice, and the practice in the morning, change your schedule, change your job times, change your hours, because you know that $15, $20 an hour is not worth your license. Jazz?
Hi, my name is Jasvinder, and I have a few things to share with you guys. First is I think I worked with a Canadian graduate. I work with them, so the thing worked for me is a communication. I was able to communicate well. I was able to start it and finishing off the stations quite well. And but I think I was exhausted. I was finishing, and my performance was going down. I can feel it. I can see it. I can able to finish it properly. I was touching everything, but I was not finishing it properly. That's what I feel it. And I was exhausted. Even for my written section, they were messing with my sheets. They were not putting my sheets there. So I have to tell them twice. Oh, where is my sheet? There's no name on the sheet. And I think with the bell system, either I was running late or either I was rushing to finish it. Oh, the bell will not ring any time. So it's kind of anxiety, when I was doing it, performing it. And then the one of the foremost thing is practice. And I didn't practice that much. I don't have a stable partner to practice. Even at my work, I was trying to practice, but doesn't work like that way at that time. And another thing is I was so prepared in a way I'll do this, like a tunnel vision, like a script thing. Something comes like that, I'll perform like that, and I messed with that because the examiner either was telling me reread the question, and I was doing the task. They were not related to the question. But I was thinking this need to be done, and I'll score more. In my mind, I was thinking like that, and that doesn't happen. And during my first station, the examiner was not writing anything on the sheet. He was just looking at me. I thought I finished, I failed my first station, which because in the orientation and everything, they were told they would keep on marking, and she was not marking. That was my first. I was thinking oh, I think I'm doing it wrong. Something I did a blunder. In my mind, I was thinking keep on confusing with the points. And I definitely need a practice with the time management. It's not like a practice. It's just how you, within the time, the task is performed or not, and closing the station. I think that's the most important. That I feel within my whole stations, the performance was up and down. I can feel it oh, I think I'm gonna fail. I was thinking oh, I am coming here to fail. I was damn sure.
But just you got an idea.
Yes, I got an idea.
You
now.
got
Yeah.
a clear picture right now, 100%.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do next time.
Yeah.
At this time, you can't fail.
Yeah, no.
If lack of the preparation.
Yes. Yeah.
So guys, I need to leave because I'm doing my landscaping. It is a big project. Trust me, lots of stones, slabs, everything.
Thank you.
It is everybody's luck. It doesn't mean that there is some lack of the preparation. You guys are good, but trust me, this is a very good platform for everybody. Harpreet, he's no. I'm not flattering. Just in my direction. Trust me, I'm telling the truth. He's very committed guy. Even I was not coming here today, but I just could come because he gives 100% effort. A number of times he thinks he can work for you guys to get some shadowing in the Alberta Health Services, and he got that contact. And honestly, apart from the job, every time he's thinking to give some innovative ideas. He tries to ask us, we can do some innovative things like new scenarios, different scenarios. How can we do things differently? So now it is your job as well. But from this platform, it is your efforts. You will get, I feel, 99% or 100% from us. Whatever you need, any extra time or any questions, you need our number to get some clarification of the questions or anything, we will give you.
So Sachin will be responsible for ortho. So if you get less marks in ortho, I'll give you.
No, you will not get less marks. You will not.
So by the end of the time, you know where he lives. So we'll all come to see your landscaping section. And if you guys need landscaping, he's
First, I
offering.
need all the muscles. Okay,
Okay, good. Thank you, Sachin.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Abiola, and this is my own first attempt. But the challenge I've been having so far is the fact that for the written you have a study guide, right? So you have something to look up to as in, okay, have I done this? Have I done this? You have to check this. But this one, you have just scenarios, right? And you're not supposed to take it as a script. So it's a little bit, I don't know, I've not attempted it, but I feel it's a little bit challenging. The fact that, in the sense that, if assuming you have a guideline like coordination and things that are expected of you to know, okay, in coordination, you could say, okay, now I know about coordination. It has to be me being dynamic now, being flexible, and being, do you understand? But you don't have that. So there is every temptation for you to, in fact, at times when you see a script, you can actually interpret it for another one that you've read before, and they're quite different. So I don't know how you're going to manage that. I keep on asking people that are giving it a shot, as in, how did you do it? I don't know. It's quite tempting for you to memorize some things because you just feel, okay, oh, that's how you be structured. That was how you actually learned. You just see a scenario, you read through, and you practice. So it's not as if you are not even sure whether your foundation is solid in a particular level, probably coordination, bed exercises. Do you get? So I really don't know how to. It's challenging for me because this is my own first time. So I don't know.
That's good. Rachel? The first thing is, I think, one you would need is.
My first test.
Yes, yeah, it's good.
And I think this is one of the first challenge that I probably will likely face, not being able to speak out loud. So I guess practicing, I just feel like I've spoken to people who have done it before, and all they tell me is that you have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice, and I feel that that should actually help because practicing, probably I'll be able to get my voice to sound more louder. And then another challenging thing is having to work within a short time, and you having to organize yourself within the next 5 minutes. You have this start to do, and you have just 1 minute to think through what you have to do in that 5 minutes. And when you get there, you just have to do all those tasks. It's not as if we don't know them, but it's just a matter of getting those things done on time, and that is where practice comes in. Because you just have to be automatic. Okay, I want to do range of motion strength all in 5 minutes, and then probably I have to do it for like a joint, which probably I have to keep positioning between. So I won't have time to get in and thinking, okay, like this sitting, like this inside my. So that's where practice just comes in. You just have to keep practicing and practicing because the time of the exam is not the time to figure things out. It's just time to go there. Yeah, and then one thing I also learned from people who have done it before, they keep saying they are basic things, they are basic things. So it now came to my mind that I should forget my experience, and which means probably they just want to check, okay, the things that have been taught that I have read about for the meeting, how can you translate it to practical? So it means more, okay, how do I should know more about the range of motion for every joint, exercises for every joint, strength for every joint, things that are basic, that so it's not as if we don't know them, it's just do these things more and more. And I think this one should be able to help us to achieve it.
Suraj?
I think there's no definite formula for success here.
Well said.
Everybody, definitely, as we know, there are 6 P's. We need all those 6 P's to
A little louder.
6 P's for the success.
Yeah.
Like we study evaluation technique 6 P's. We need all those 6 P's, not just 1 P, I guess, to pass. Like I'm kind of laid back and slow kind of guy, so that like I've seen people who are fast, and then I think I should be speaking like them, but then when I try to do that, I cannot finish in that my time frame, so it doesn't work for me as such. But speaking more definitely helps, but not for everybody. So different people have different should have different formula for success. That's what I think.
That's good. What do you think has worked? What do you think might be helpful for people who are attempting the first time?
Practicing is definitely one thing, and the other thing would be we totally ignore reading things. Like, these are important for the written part, and be very attentive during the practice session is another thing, because in exam you think you know things, but then at that time that particular word doesn't pop up in your mind, and then you miss those little words which are very important for us. That happened to me, that's why you can say that. Like, everybody knows what are the structures in the joints, but then when they ask for one particular word, and then that doesn't come to your mind, you fail the station. So being very attentive during the practice will help being attentive to the exam as well. That's what I think.
So, first of all, I think I really want to thank all of you guys for coming today. Nicole, Garema, Bola, Abiola, Bola, Lamide. I just want you guys to just share your experience with them. What has helped? Nothing, questions, but just what you think they should do. Why do you think you were able to pass the exam? What did you do? How did you practice? What did you read and stuff? So take as much time as you want. Yeah, you can come in.
Should I say it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. Just to build up on what Sinod has said, I don't think that there's any specific formula for success, because the first thing that I feel that you need to do, or at least will work. I didn't do it personally, but in retrospect, now that I've passed, I feel that you should just get to know yourself first, know your strengths and your weaknesses. Because for me, I basically went in and just played my strengths. Basically, I know that I am pretty good with speaking, and second of all, I'm actually pretty good as well as with picking things up. I'm pretty good with that. So just capitalizing on these things, and at the same time working on the things that you're weak at. It could be your theoretical knowledge, it could be your communication skills, and just focusing on those things while you have these months to prepare. To be honest, I felt that I didn't have enough time to prepare for the exam. I started in January and took the exam in June, and I wasn't committed to it full time because I was working. But I felt what helped me was that I also knew myself in terms of what works for me with learning, because everybody has different learning styles. And whenever I had free time, what I did was that I just watched YouTube videos. Because at the end of the night, when you're tired, you're coming from work, you're coming from practice, and you're tired to read, it doesn't work for everyone. I know that it works for some people, but I know that for myself, it doesn't. So I just watched things, and it definitely worked for me. It might not work for everyone, but my point here is that just know what works for you. And then the other thing, of course, is that finding a good group and understanding that group as well, because everyone goes at different paces. Everybody has different working styles. Everybody has different learning styles, and trying
to just work with that and make the most out of that. Learn from other people and bring your own touch to that group as well, so that you have something to contribute. And then the last thing would be just being really familiar with what the alliance wants from you. This is something that I sort of panicked and tried to wrap my head around towards the tail end of my preparation, because I didn't really put my mind into the practice questions, the checklists, and all these things. I feel that I didn't have a proper strategy in terms of studying, but just being aware of what they really require. Because to be honest, they don't really require a lot. When I came out of that exam, I was like, that was the exam? I was like, I felt that I was expecting something more difficult. Not that I did extremely well in that, because I felt that I was overthinking a lot of things, but just managing your expectations and understanding what the alliance would expect from you is probably a very good place to start your review. So just going through the checklists and trying to understand what they would try to look for in terms of the skills, not going into too many unnecessary details if it is not required. You don't want to exhaust yourself with that, because really everybody breaks down at some point during the preparation. Everybody breaks down multiple times, I feel. And you can't have that. You don't want to be overexhausted by the time that you have to take the exam. And then another thing is just being comfortable with the idea of taking the exam. So taking as many mock exams as you can. Because for me, I also have problems with anxiety. Like every time we had mock exams with heart rate, I'm always just out there, like almost passing out, and just everybody would have to console me and things like this, because I do get anxious. And but before the exam, like the night before, I couldn't sleep, just like most of the other people, and I was throwing up the night before, and I was taking the exam in the afternoon, and I had friends that were taking it in the morning, and I was just crying there alone, because I was very anxious. But as long as you get rid of that anxiety and you step in and do well on that first station, it's gonna set yourself up like with how you're gonna do the rest of the stations. Because for me, I felt that I did well in that first station, and I did well for that whole 8-minute station run, just because I felt quite confident with that first one. So just the first question, just you have time, you have the sort of relaxed feeling when you get in there. Just make the most of that and just go in, come prepared, and try to do well in that first one, and just try to keep consistent as you go. And that's what I have to say. Okay. Yeah, I already said a lot. I cannot say so many things.
Okay, my name is Garima, and this was my second attempt. So I can compare and let you know what was the difference from my first and between my first and second attempts. So my first attempt I gave in back 2015 November, and I was all prepared. Like we people have all the knowledge. We know what the special tests are, what are the range of motion and everything. It's just within that time we have to finish that. What they have asked, we have to do just that. So I think, and the anxiety for me, yes, because my first attempt, I remember I started with 10-minute stations, and I was like, after my first station was very exhaustive, and I was like, my second station was a rest station. I was like, thank God. And I was sitting there, water. And then the guide there, they just gave me 2 glasses of water, and they're saying, no, I won't give you a third one. I'm like, why? I need more. And they're like, we won't allow you to go to washroom. I was like, okay. So because I've just started my exam. So yeah, so anxiety is the major issue with me. So that overwhelmed me with my older stations. And there was one more thing that was lacking in my first station was the 5-minute stations. It's too less time, and the written part that was lacking with me. So I think I worked on these things I actually took a break, long break, like I just had my baby. So then after having my baby, I was like, oh, again, I have to leave my baby for my second attempt. So when he was 2 months, and I was like, no, mom, you keep him. I'm just going to go for studies. So we need to do some sacrifice, definitely. And second attempt was I started my breathing exercises because I know I cannot overcome my anxiety. So I did on daily basis, definitely. Doing my breathing exercise, that was really important. Getting all my hormones back, my memory back. So everything, I worked. Like I started working, I was like forgetting things and everything. So I was like, oh no, Garima, you have to study. Theory, important, yes. Theory important in the sense, it's not a sure shot, but definitely a 5-minute station written part, that helps. Passing a station, because in the Alliance, it's written, if you're not doing well in the practical, and if you have done the written part really good, you're pass. So 5-minute written stations, they are important. Also, I think for me, this time, there was no restation because we had one candidate who was not present, so we didn't have any restation, neither in 5 minutes nor in 8 minutes. We were just back to back giving all the stations. So stamina, we need stamina. We need a lot of stamina, yes. For that, we need to practice. I started in January and I was ready to give in June. So I was working part-time. So I had on and off time to practice, and giving a lot of mock exams, that helped me overcome my anxiety. So I think, yeah. So I can say like just a few points to just jot down is to read, to write, practice that points, because this time 5-minute stations, I thought that helped me, yes. So that writing part, that's important. Communication, we can say, yes, I have improved in my communication from my first attempt. And just by talking, speaking, practicing, this only helped me, nothing else. I did nothing to improve my communication. So yeah, I think, and I did breathing exercises for my anxiety. I try to get at least 8 hours sleeps by the clock before exam. I don't read anything 2 days before. I'm just like, I don't know anything, that's okay, but I want to sleep. So I try to sleep. So I usually get the sleep, fingers crossed. So, and both my sessions were afternoon. So I think that morning, I have the whole time for 3 to 4 hours. Like I'm like, okay, I'm good. Garima, don't go. Like just boosting yourself up a little bit, that helps. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it's not good to be overconfident till the day of the exam or the previous night, but the last night you tell yourself, I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. But not before the exam. Somebody who says, oh, I'm going to pass this time. That's not a good sign. But before the exam, a day before the exam, there's nothing that you will do that you will remember. So give yourself 24 hours, make sure you do some cardio during this whole 3 months. Make sure you're doing some exercise, just not only studying, right? So because your attention will improve, right? And then if you're doing one task for a long time, you get bored, you get tired, your attention. So make sure you change. You go out on weekends, watch movies, but make sure you spend at least 1 hour every day to do something, like swim, play stuff, do something that will help. Because if you're doing this, because some of you, most of you, this is your third attempt, right? And you've been doing this for now a year. You want to give your maximum effort in this one. So you need to change. You need to change your partners too, in the sense you're not your husband or wife, but your practice partners, right? So change, involve new people, have new ideas, but make sure you're doing something different. Every day you're exercising, or you're going out, going to a restaurant, watching movies, so that your mind is off. So when I work in the clinic, so for example, sometimes when you're managing, you're thinking about the operations 24 hours, and that burns you out. So you have to have a time where everything drops. Right? So for me, this is the time when I'm not worried about anything else that's happening in. So you need something to totally block this, and then once you start practicing, you'll be more refreshed. That's why we need to take vacation. Right? So we need vacation. When we come, we can put that effort. So don't think that, oh, I need to practice 12 hours, and because if you do something else, that practice of even 8 or 9 hours will give you more results. So make sure in a routine you join a gym, and that's also exercise, aerobics, and anything. That's a good stress relief. Right? So, and especially people who are their second or third attempt, right? There would be a lot of stress. So make sure you're doing something different than just practicing. Come over.
So for me, it wasn't my first attempt, and I asked for a file review, and because I wanted to know what I was doing wrong. Basically, what they are telling you is they accept your education from your country, right? And all they need you to do is take the licensing exam to prove that you can, provide service safely in their environment. So you need to learn what they want in their environment. It's very different. I found that it's different from where I came from. Okay, so I had to learn what were they looking for. What is it that, because the questions are extremely simple, they're straight to the point. They are not tricking you. There's no trick to it. Okay, it's very straight to the point. You will know what they want you to do. Okay, so what do they want? What are they looking for? I had to sit back down and ask myself. And so I went through that, the Alliance site where they have all kinds of things that you have to read up. And I found out that, one, you have to pass the required number of stations. In my first exam, I had 10 stations and they required you to pass 10, and I still didn't pass. So what else did they want? And I found out that in each station, you had to pass such that you had high marks to be able to get to that cutoff point. And then you need not to have any safety issues. Okay? So on my file review, most of the comments there said that I was not giving enough precautions. To them, it was a safety issue. Because if you are doing this and you're not telling your patient why you're doing it or what they should look out for after your intervention, then your patient isn't safe. Okay, that was how I interpreted it. Okay, another thing with me is, yes, everybody said practice, practice, practice. Neuro, ortho, multi-system, whatever it was, what will my practice entail? So I had to learn time management. I had to learn communication, because the way I speak my English is not the way they understand my English. So I had to learn theirs. Okay, so time management. If I'm practicing with you, I know when I'm over 4 minutes. Okay, so you have to do it to that until you get to that level. You are like, I'm practicing. Oh, I'm sure I hit 8 minutes. Let's start again. So for me, that was time management, communication, and organization, because it's also part of what will be marked on that day. So you have an assessment, an ankle assessment, and you're not doing your special test before you do your observation. Then it means you're not organized. What are you getting from your assessment? Okay, so for me, that was important as well, to be able to organize myself, to go from one spot to the other, to hit those points, and to get stuff from whatever it is I'm doing that will lead me to a logical conclusion. Okay, so I start, and that was what this HAPRIT were able to do for me, getting me organized. Okay, because I was all over the place. I would come in with an ankle assessment. Oh, how did you injure? And then I asked my mechanism of injury at the end when I'm doing this, but I had to get organized. Okay, so that was one thing that I got on point here, and these guys really did that for me. I was very, very appreciative of that. And communication as well. Okay, you have to talk in a way that you're giving your instructions and they know what it is you want them to do. They're not just staring at you blankly because they don't understand your accent. Okay, so that was what I looked into. What do you want? Okay, the questions are simple. I know what it is you want me to do, but what else? So I was very aware of my safety. I was very aware of my precautions to my patients, hip surgery. You're carrying out passive movements. You're talking to a stroke patient who is aphasic. What are you supposed to look out for? You're taking consent from someone. Is this person oriented? Is the cognition there? So you have to hit all those points. Okay, so that was what I found important. So precautions, safety, communication, and then what else? I'm sorry, I had a little list of things that I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. So, yes, another thing is that I told myself I've already been to school. These guys, this is not a physio school. They're just going to help me hone my skills, and so that was what I got from them. What are the skills that I need that they are looking for? For me to pass this, and so no question is dumb. They're all here to help you. Whatever it is you ask might actually be of help to somebody else. So feel free to ask, and they're fantastic about that. Breaking it down for you, and helping you to hit all those points. Helping you to interpret the questions. Okay, so your practice is for what? For me, time management. For me, was communication. For me, it was organization. And of course, you have to look at different aspects as well. If it's ortho, what are they looking for? You have to look for this. If it's neuro, they are looking for this, so that you have all that at the back of your mind when you're going into the exam. And in my first exam, I practically did not finish all stations. I had problems with that, so that's why I focused on my time management in the next one, and then a lot of reading as well. You still have to read because of the 5-minute questions. For the 5-minute stations, if you don't do well in the practical, you do very well in the written, it boosts you up, so you're able to pass that station. So you have to know your theory as well. What's the difference between left and right heart failure? Difference between left and right-sided stroke. How would they present? What would you see if somebody has, the left and the right? What are they predisposed to? Somebody is impulsive because it's left. So what would look normal to you when this person is behaving? Just talking when you're talking to the person. Or aphasic, it's the cognition there. Your bed breaks. All those little things are actually what I feel what they want, because they are, like I said, the questions are very straight to the point. There's no magic or no deceiving or whatever there, because their own kids are also going to take the exam as well. So it's very straight to the point. So it's just a matter of reorienting yourself, not overthinking the question, communicating right, managing your time right, and doing what they ask you to do. Okay, because sometimes if you are not, you'll get the examiner asking you, please reread your question. That means you're not doing, what they ask you to do. So safety, communication, time management, hit your point, hit those marks so that in each station you get as high marks as possible. And eat, for me, that was how I was able to get, because it's simple, but it's a very tasking exam, as in you are drained. You just want to fall and melt on the floor after the exam. It's very draining. So the break time that they give you food, I eat, I drink, just to keep that energy up, so that this thing has to work. You get to the station, what do they want me to do? Pam, pam, pam. You do it, and you are able to do it in that amount of time, and then you go back and you have enough time so that you're like, okay, did I hit? There was even one station, the woman wasn't writing anything down, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I not done? What have I not done? She was just there. You would expect if you are hitting the point, she should at least take. And I'm like, oh God, what did I not do? And then you remember something, or and then you go back, and then finally she does one thing, and you're like, oh God. So for me, that was what the exam was all about. Managing my time, communicating well, knowing what do they want. Okay, it's not just about passing the station, but hitting all those points so that you get high scores in each station, so that overall you hit that cutoff mark. Okay, so that was how. And then for me, like she said, like Sachin said, prayer was very, very essential. So prayer for me was one thing because I had to pray to get that anxiety level down. Because trust me, you'll be anxious. For most of you, it's not the first time, so you'll be anxious. But then, and then another thing, confidence. If you go in and you're already shaky, your presentation, even though you know what you're doing, but you don't come across as confident, then you don't present yourself as a professional who knows what he or she is doing. So you have to go there. Your confidence level has to be high. Even if you're anxious on the inside, it must not show. It shouldn't show. Okay? Do what it is you're doing and do it with confidence. Okay, even though in your mind, you're like, oh, I hope I'm doing this right. You're like, okay, I'm going to be moving this right now. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then you finish your work. Are you comfortable? Are you okay? And then, finish your station. Do it well. Do it confidently. Speak in a way that you're getting responses. You know that patient is understanding what it is you're saying. Okay, so that was my approach to the exam. It was okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sorry?
Understand?
Yeah, that's one. My name is Bola, and it was my first attempt. And I was let's just say I was just lucky. And what worked for me, the first thing was I've heard about the exam that nobody passes at the first attempt, and you have to do it a couple of times and stuff. So I was already in a bad place. So, and I'm always very anxious. I cry readily. And but one thing that worked for me the best was my group. I had a formidable group with fantastic people. Anytime I cry, they give me time to go to the washroom and come back. Because, it's very overwhelming because when you think you know much, you've read, you've practiced, and then at the end of the day, you just get there, you start to fumble and wumble. I just break down and I cry. So they go have your time and come back. And so my group really helped me. So when I joined the Hapit Forum, come every Sunday, the first thing that I learned from here was that you need to give it your all. I wasn't working. I didn't work at all for the last 2 years. I didn't work a single day. I did my routine, I passed, and then I did this. So I gave it my all. It was crazy. I had nightmares and dreams of the exam. Every day I was doing gonometry in my dreams and stuff because all my heart and my mind was really in the exam. And I think that it paid off if you really put your mind into the exam. Don't take anything for granted. I did not take anything for granted. I learned things over and over and over. I did it several times so I can become a part of it because I remember they told us here that until it becomes a part of you, you won't be able to do it well in the exam. Because even if you think you know, when you get that little thing, okay, you are doing it fine under good time, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but then you have to do the same thing under 5, 10 minutes. Would you be able to reproduce it at that point? But if it had become a part of your life, then it becomes very easy. So that worked for me. I did it over and over again. And also, I remember Ramesh told us one thing, that the exam is not about the task, completing the task. I discovered that in this exam, it's actually not about that. It's about the steps you take during the exam, as in your steps you took throughout answering your question. Your goal should not be, okay, they said range of motion of the shoulder. I want to finish the range of motion of the shoulder, abduction, adduction, and stuff like that. No. Ramesh gave us an example. He said if you're going towards Edmonton and your goal is not getting to Edmonton, the goal is to observe the checkpoints in between Calgary to Edmonton, to follow the kilometers per hour, shoulder check, stop, look at the signs. I'm telling you, for me, my testimony is that my goal was not to actually finish the stations, but to gather as much points as possible on my way. It really worked for me because when I entered the first station, it was my best station ever. I knew it. Diabetic foot. I'm sorry. That was my best station. I knew it very well. When I got in and I started doing it, we were supposed to do some stuff, but I couldn't finish because some things happened along the line. I was jittery, I was fidgeting, my whole heart. It was as if I was in a really bad situation. I couldn't do anything. I knew it so well, but I couldn't finish that station. So at the end of the day, I just remembered Hapit. He said, whatever happens in your first station, let it end there. Leave it there and move on. Because immediately I was jittery. I was like, oh, I have failed this exam. I can't do this. This was the first station. I was the 10-minute station. I knew it so much.
If I was going to pass the exam, it would have been because of that station. So I was like, I have failed. I can't go on. But I just remembered. It was as if I heard that voice, said, forget that station and move on to your next. Go and give it your best shot. So when I closed the door, because I didn't know the time was up, the examiner just said, showed me the door. I was still thinking I had time, just showed me the door. I didn't even hear the bell. I didn't hear it. She just showed me the door, and my patient was just looking like that. So, okay, I got out. I shook myself like, no, you can do it. So I went on to the next station, and I forgot about that station. So in short, what I'm saying is that the first thing was, do not pay attention to the end result. Make sure that you are paying attention to every step you take towards admitting, road check, shoulder check, look at bumps on the road, look for everything. Try to gather as many points as possible. That was key for me. The second was, whatever happens in your first station, let it stay there. And do not overthink it. Yeah. Then the third thing I remember Apu telling us was that communication. Our last class here, before we went for the exam, he said, talk and talk and talk and talk the hell out. That was his phrase. So when I got into the exam, some of the stations they were familiar stations. You know, there is an exam, you will fidget, there's no how. So when I entered, I kept calm, I looked at the question, okay, fine, I can do this. But I discovered that something like she said, the examiner would not tick anything. I was okay, maybe I'm not saying the right thing, stuff. I remember, just keep talking. So even when I had time, I'd done what I was supposed to do, I kept talking. I would re-emphasize what I've told this patient already. I would talk and talk the hell out. And immediately I keep seeing ticking. Every time, that was my own experience. For every cubicle, the examiner ticked till I left the cubicle, because whatever time I had left, I was talking. Because they had said, talk and talk and talk the hell out. Now that's what the Canadian grads do. They keep talking. So it's not as if you're going to be saying rubbish, but re-emphasize. So while you're talking, you remember points. That worked for me. So 3 things that worked for me was, I was determined to get marks all along the way to Edmonton. I got all my marks. I kept on talking. I forgot about my very bad first station. I didn't take it all through into the exam. But the night before, I and Nicole were in the same room. We could not sleep. I had books all over. It didn't work. It was a bad thing. Do not ever do that. 24 hours to the exam, I promise you, you cannot gain anything. It was as if I was hiding and deleting. Everything in my brain, I was deleting it by reading more. Because I was so stressed out, I was tired. When I got to the exam venue, I could barely hold myself tall. In the elevator, I almost fainted because I was exhausted. I was tired. I didn't sleep. I didn't even eat. So during the exam, I was like, if I didn't pass this exam, I'm going to do nothing. I cannot do this exam again because I was too tired. And I remember that Ramesh told us that eat and have enough energy for this exam because it's going to be taxing. But I did not do that. So I want to advise you, do not ever do that. 24 hours, 48 hours to the exam, there's nothing more to know. Just sleep and try to remember, because what they need for us is not advanced level, it's the basics. But the basics become deleted if you have too many stuff, few hours to your exams. Just keep calm, try to remember what you've learned over time, maybe on your bed and something like that, and it works. And another major point is that when after all said and done, you've done your best, check with your patient, because there were some funny stations there. I didn't know what to do, but I was looking at my patient's body language. At the client, the standardized patient's body language, I was checking back. At every point, when I gave exercise, I was like, is that okay? Does that work for you? I kept on checking back. You have to, because they're waiting for you to say something. And then they will prompt you. There was a particular patient, the standardized patient practically told me what to do because I was checking back with her, and then she said something important. I just remembered. So you have to check back. Even if you don't know what you are supposed to do, be confident, act confident. That was one, I was just forming confidence. I was fabricating stories, I was making up exercises right there, but I was doing it with confidence. So be confident, check back with the patient often and often, speak. Even if it's just 30 seconds, it might help you. Don't just keep quiet when you think you are done. No, go back and talk and talk and talk the hell out, like you said. So that was what helped me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I'm Akash. It's been a while since I took my exam. She is still in exam mode, I can tell you that. She talked the hell out, right? So exactly that is the mantra or the basic concept behind this exam. Talk the hell out, right? Don't stand there, think. Thinking part, this is the time. You have to do now, right? When you're learning about this is a very basic exam. There is nothing much you need to know. You guys know all your anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, and all about the conditions. It's putting your brain to work what you have learned, right? And you guys all have learned. That's why you are here at this level after clearing your written one, right? So you guys all know everything. The only thing, talk and talk and talk. But when I took my exam, I'll give you one piece of advice on that. Before my exam, when I was practicing under supervision as a resident physio, I would take every student, every patient that I took as a station, right? I literally would split my assessments into stations. History taking, 10 minutes. You have 40 minutes for an assessment when you do assessment. 10 minutes of history taking. Come out. Next 10 minutes starts, you go, you do exam, right? You do your first part of the exam, like for example, if I'm doing upper quadrant, right, or lower quadrant, something like that. Come back. Split neuro exam into 2 parts. Do dermatomes, myotomes, do special tests on the next one. So always practice. It's not about only that day that you guys are practicing it. It's about every day how you built up to that, right? It's not about that particular day I'm going to go and do this and do that. It's every day in your practice when you're practicing in your own clinics, right? Or when you're practicing here. Take every day as exam day. That's how it's going to work out. And that's how it worked for me, right? And everybody would have their different ways of talking and all that stuff, but just make sure that if you keep talking, you will get the points. And it's not about, this is not a correct or incorrect station system, right? You are getting points to the point where you actually clear the station. I literally, from the last station, had a person here, not here, but I got to know about a person who cleared more stations than that were required. You probably would have a few people here who cleared more than the basic numbers, but they still couldn't clear the exam. You know why? Because when we are talking about the exams, there's a level of satisfaction that you have to show. So level of points, marks that you have to get. So you cleared the station because you did the basic stuff. You didn't make any mistakes. You did the basic stuff that was needed. But then you could not earn the extra points by talking. By clearing the stuff that they wanted to, by saying the things that they wanted to say. They wanted you to say, right? So you make sure you say everything about it, right? So that's where it talk the hell out works, right? All the best, guys, right? Thank you.
So I just want to thank you, everybody, and then just give these guys a big round of applause. They've worked hard and they're now sitting on the other side. Right? So I hope by November, December, you all are sitting on this side. Right? So, our last talk is going to be Ramesh is going to talk, and then we all are going to have lunch here. They can come here too for lunch. We'll see the issues.
Hi everyone. So I take more time. That's why I've been given last session. So just I thought that I should walk through what's happening in the exam and then how the examination procedure. But I found that only couple of students are who are taking exam for the first time, who don't know anything exam. The rest of the people, I think they know much better than me about the pattern of examination and other stuff. So just I will walk through what will happen for next 10 weeks. So every week, I don't know whether Harpreet has told about those things, about what will happen for next 10 weeks. So
The schedule is on the website. I posted the schedule on the website. So I hope everybody has the schedule, what we're going to do.
Yeah. So second thing is, you guys should apologize to me. So second thing is that you come for exam, you come for classes over here. See to that you exploit as much as possible from us when you are inside. So don't come late. That's what Sachin was trying to tell, but you guys misinterpret that you go to temple, you go to church or somewhere. He was trying to say that Sunday prayers, try to put a hold for it so that you come for the classes. That's what he was trying to say. And as you say, you come, if the class is ending by 1 o'clock, you come 11 o'clock saying that I went to church. So it doesn't work better. So you're paid here. So you come here to learn. So try to exploit as much as possible. And then in between we say take 5 minutes break. So you take half an hour break. So that becomes really lagging behind in the schedule what's there in our brain. So what we'll do is we'll try to edit most of the things, because the good quality or best quality of a teacher is that we can edit anything. So if you ask me to teach entire physiotherapy for 45 minutes, we can teach entire physiotherapy for 45 minutes. And then if you're asked to teach physiotherapy for 4.5 years, we are there to teach physiotherapy for 4.5 years. So it's up to you guys to how much to exploit, because you are here to get your mission accomplished, and also it's not, you have paid over here. So make utilize everything. So when I see many people, when I go, rarely, maybe 3 or 4 times I went to movie in Canada, I see people running when they're going late for the movie. I have never seen any student running from there to here. I never. Slowly they'll come. And so then they'll go around and then drink water and then come back. So who is going to lose? So there are some teachers who daily tell you that don't do this, don't do that. And then as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to tell anything in between. Only introduction class I'm going to tell you. Some teachers are really very good. They keep saying that, no, you should not come late. No, you should not do this. You should be here. You should be here. They'll be telling. So don't feel bad if they say anything about your physical presence, over here. And so, but I consider that you are all mature. So just for a quick note that whatever time has been provided, be in time, exploit as much as possible from us. That's one thing. And then now going through the other thing which we have been discussing, all I'm going to tell you is what's the neuropsychology behind the examination. So that's what I need to tell. I don't need to tell about active range of motion, passive range of motion, and other stuff. All I need to tell why you're missing the exam is we are totally made for a different psychological perspective of the examination. So I don't know, I see majority of them are from India. So far as what they do is 2 major, that means 60-minute stations, 1 minor, your half an hour station. So this is our examination pattern. 2 major, 1 minor. See, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 30 or 40 minutes, depending upon the university. What happens is you have ample amount of time to correct yourself even if you go wrong there. So here you don't have. So that's why they made a question very precise, very simple, and then I forgot her name. So she's clearly said that there is no trick in the examination. Everything is clear. I don't know whether their children are writing or not, but they might have definitely made the scenarios practiced there. So whether it can be done in 8 minutes, whether it can be done in 4.5 minutes. So they thoroughly ensure themselves whether this task can be done. If not, you see that station will be deleted. Understood? So they don't need to do this. And other thing is someone was saying about examiner didn't do the tick mark over there. So first thing what I have to tell is don't do examiner's job. Understood? Don't get panicked about that one. Don't think about why examiner has said that, read it again. It is there all to set the glue for you. So don't do others' job there. Do your own job. Then definitely we won't do so. Because many people say that he was not taking anything. And then some people will say that he took eraser and erased everything there. And then some people say that they take the paper and then turn it back and write, say that someone might have said that all the comments they write in the back side of the chart, and then they say that he has written comments over there. They write in the back side, yes, for sure, but what they may be writing, because I started my first teaching in 2005 in India. We do have the similar charts for the examination when we evaluate for our post-graduation students. What we write in the back side of the chart is that if he is giving a new clue, new way of doing the things. He will put a recommendation so that next time onwards that becomes the checklist. So you are rather recommending a new type of checklist over there. So you no need to panic about he has written something back because senior has told that someone who has written has told that once they turn back and then write something, so Gaya comes. And it's not like that. So don't do examiner's job. Do only students. So don't see whether they are taking or not. Someone must say that. I will be seeing at him whether he's taking, examiner saying whether you have been doing it or not. So try to avoid this confusion. Now coming to the what is the psychological perspective. So being physiotherapy, so I like to interpret the pattern of examination. That is one of my passion, to know the psychology behind the system. So what I understood is usually in Indian system of education where I have been there, so the system of education is more focused on about our crystalline intelligence. That means you need to mug up the things. 2 into 3 is equal to 4. Number of bones in human body, longest no, smallest no, tough bone, small bone, all other stuff. What is our range of motion? You have to close eyes and say about all the range of motion. Here, nowhere in the charts they will ask you exact. They say percentage of range of motion. If anyone of you are practicing or doing the charting and other stuff, you say percentage loss. They won't ask you the exact number most. So they won't depend purely on your crystalline intelligence. So they will depend on your fluid intelligence. Fluid intelligence means how you are going to change according to the question. So how you are going to adapt yourself to the changing questions. That they are going to concentrate. So all we are going to do is increase your fluid intelligence. It doesn't mean that you should not have crystallized intelligence. So you should be having your crystallized intelligence. Why? Because sometimes you need to write some questions after that. Certain things, say for example, tests available. So you need to memorize this test. So memory is also essential component. All we need to develop to get into the system is you should be developing your fluid intelligence. That means adapting to the situation which has been given there. So fluid, making intelligence flow like a fluid, not like a solid crystal. 2 into 3 is equal to 6. You should change that perspective. And then someone has rightly used a term called as tunnel vision. So all of you have missed the examination not because of lacking of your physiotherapeutic skills, but because of your tunnel vision. So trying to understand, keeping some fixed set of ideas about the examination and then trying to do only that doesn't fetch. So all our attempt during stations and other stuff is to break you or make you come out of that tunnel vision. So just don't do stereotyped way of looking over the things. So that's the one important thing which we should have to know about this one. And other thing is, what I want to say is that about stress and anxiety, which has been thoroughly introduced to you. So people, some might have entered without stress and anxiety here. They might have started developing stress and anxiety. Understood? See, if you look into the neuropsychology, okay, don't worry about the neuropsychology because I've been given only half an hour. So see, stress releases cortisol, true or false? True. Cortisol is very good for our functioning of your cardiovascular system, which is essential to fill your brain. So, but in the same Sullivan book, you might have seen about the inverted U hypothesis. You might have seen a diagram over there, inverted U hypothesis, Eric Dodson law, something in Sullivan book it is there. I don't know whether you've seen it or not. So you have inverted U hypothesis. That means too much low stress, good for nothing. Too much of high stress, good for nothing. There should be optimal stress, which is to be available, which is good. Stress. Understood. Stress is an essential component. Understood, but don't try to take excessive stress. I think now we have thoroughly introduced to anxiety and stress. So that's the thing. So I want to give you one example. Some people say that I have not slept for a whole night and then that killed my examination. I'll give you one example. So I see majority of them are from international students. So you'll be having 20 hours of flight. Say, for example, let me tell Indian circumstances. So you catch a flight in Calgary, go to, depending upon your airways, whether it is London or Frankfurt or Dubai, back to India. So flight will be, always it will be in the night, 12 o'clock. You will never sleep. And then you will never, so passport means exactly you'll give passport. Understood? This side photo turn, this means exactly, you won't forget. Why? Because all your passion is to go back to you. see your friends and family there. Means whenever you do with passion, you will never bother about your anxiety. And then it reaches India definitely 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the night. True or false? By the time you reach your place, it will be 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. You will never feel sleepy. You will be talking about all unwanted things with your friends and family. If no one is there, say for example, if not for me, if no one is there, I'll tell stories to the driver. You will never feel any anxiety or sleepless because of old sleeplessness. You won't be bothered. You'll tell all everything in detail. Then you go to home, and then your family will be there or parents will be there. You'll talk with me for at least for 3-4 hours. True or false? Where is the anxiety? 48 hours, no sleep, no food, proper food. If you like air food, then in the flight, then it's fine. Otherwise, no food. And then some places you need to wait for a connecting flight for 12 hours. Then also you won't feel anything. Why? Because we do with passion. If you have passion, no stress, no sleep, nothing is good. Because human body is thoroughly designed to take up that kind of stress. Understood? Because our ancestors are hunters and gatherers. So our brain is thoroughly adapted to hunt. So they get hunt, go after a deer. Is it easy to go after a deer which can run at the rate of 80 miles? Understood? It is very difficult. To get a fruit which is in the top of the branch, you should tactfully go there, putting on all the stress. You need to go there and then you get the fruit there. He does it. Why? Because he does its passion. It is his habitual action. So all you need to do is make these exams a habitual action. Don't ever think of stress and anxiety, but I'm sorry, because you have been thoroughly infected with the stress and anxiety. Now I don't know whether newcomers, they might have come without stress and anxiety, they will be taking with stress and anxiety. So there is nothing wrong. Stress and anxiety, they are essential components of your survival. That is good. Always good to have them. You can perform better. And then say for example, in basic mathematics in your school, you might know about left hand RHS, LHS. Have you heard about it? Left hand side is equal to right hand side. So when you add a number, say for example +6 on this side, and then add +6 on other side, whether the equation will change. So if it is stress for you, if you take same amount of stress as your person who is taking exam with you, obviously the stress is all for everyone. That won't kill your exam, because you are not described or evaluated based on your marks. You are evaluated based on the relative performance. You are not evaluated, so you should get this many marks, and so you are evaluated on the performance from coast to coast, all the way from east coast to west coast, how people have been performing that examination at that point of time. Based on that, you have been evaluated. So if everyone has same amount of stress, so if your colleague has same amount of stress, try to take. So she's not taking too much stress, why I should take? That should be there. Then rather than what we do, I don't know, she's taking exam for third time, why she's not stressed at all, she's very relaxed. So I think we should cut out there from our group. She's not serious. Understood? Preparing exam seriously is a different thing. Preparing exam sincerely is a different thing. Try to differentiate. You are all matured brains. You know what is preparing exam seriously, what is preparing exam sincerely. Once we have mustache, beard, and everything, so it means we are matured enough to understand whether to take the exam seriously or sincerely. So this exam should be very, very easy for you. Why? Because we have seen all other exams, but only thing which is we'll say when forming the group itself, we'll say our group should have one person who has already taken the examination. Why? Because he will share his experience. So he will share his experience for sure, but he will share all the anxiety and depression and stress which is over there. So that kills your examination. Otherwise, if you are clear, because I will give you a live example. Say anyone from Gujarat? No. So I'll give you a live example. I did all my service in Gujarat. So one of my friend was there. He was not exactly my student, but a student in a different college. So after theory, he got exam somewhere in the remote place. where there is no one except one Tim Hortons and one thing, another thing. No one was there. There was only this one. So he joined. He started working there as a resident physio, and then he started practicing on his wife, who is not a physiotherapist. So he kept on practicing. So no one said him about stress, anxiety, depression, anything. So whatever he knows, he practiced, and then he practiced more. This one, occasionally he used to chat me through Skype, and then he has cleared the exam in first attempt. Because he doesn't know what is stress, he doesn't know what is anxiety, because no one has given that contagious disease to other person.
Contagious disease.
Understood. It is very contagious. Understood. So don't get infected with this one. Stress, if you have, that's good. That makes you in proper direction. Utilize it. See to that it doesn't dominate you. Based on the inverted U hypothesis, keep it at optimal levels. That keeps you in optimal arousal. That is essentially required for your proper cardiovascular performance. And then let me look into some of the doubts which you have been saying this one. Yeah, so one more thing is, that is a good one, that everyone has a different recipe of passing the examination. That's a good point which has been said, that everyone has a different recipe, because you should know about your strength, you should know about your weakness. No, don't try to copy about everything from the others. So calculate your strength and weakness, and then based on that, bank on your strengths. That will be good. Understood? Because we don't want 16 out of 16 stations over here. Understood? So look for your own recipe of doing the things. That means you practice 4 hours with your group, and after 4 hours sit and then make your own recipe for 2 hours. So 6 hours of preparation per day for almost all for 4 months is more than enough for successfully completing the examination. Only thing is you should tune your brains to what is required in the examination. In the scenarios when we discuss, we'll try to give you about how to improve your fluid intelligence and other stuff, and how to bring about principle of inductive and deductive thinking. So those are the two things which need to be understood, because we lack in our basic system of education about inductive and deductive system. And then we say that people who have been graduated from Canada are doing is because that is their essential component in their teaching. So they do deductive and inductive type of this one. Because being myself, I know how much I have introduced deductive and inductive thinking to my students, which I never did. We always think about crystallized thinking, mug up, scapulohumeral rhythm, patellofemoral syndrome. You should be writing 3-4 pages. Yes, 3-4 pages. If someone doesn't write 3-4 pages, we'll say, why you are not in 3-4 pages? Add some more points. Understood? So this type of things should be done. We should develop those things. That means a simple example of what we say about deductive and inductive thinking is scanning of the environment. Scanning of the environment. Someone was saying about the measuring. Yes. Louder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me know if it is not audible. Is it audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So other thing which I want to do is, someone was saying it should flow like water. So that is what we say cascade hypothesis. Cascade hypothesis. That means I have never seen Niagara waterfalls except in YouTube. So if you have seen, so it flows like this. So while falling down, it flows. It is clear that when it starts there and then it is going to end there, and it will pass through all the points, come for a must and should. So that is called as cascade method of preparation. So that's what I think someone has said about the Edmonton. So now I have to put on a new thing to explain you about what is Edmonton and other things. So what I hope you understood what she was trying to say about is that they have to check your skills on certain things, but they cannot simply say that do this one. Then it becomes pretty much a 2-minute station. So they try to build a scenario, or else making you acquainted that when you go out of this examination, so these are the things which you will be practicing in your regular clinical practice. So they put measuring the range of motion, prescribing some tests. They can simply say measure range of motion. Why they have to fit 36-year-old and then patient had fracture, immobilization after that? Why? Because that's what you're going to see in realistic scenario. So they need to try to train in you in those ways. So that's why they try to give. So it's not about the examining question which is there. It is about how well you are going to do it in a Canadian way of thinking. You need to do it pretty much which is required for their standards. Then only they will have the marking system done. So it's not about the pure outcome which they are going to do. So your waterfall, your way of doing it should go like a waterfall. So waterfall, ultimately it will start from one place, it ends in one place which everyone knows, and then it follows each and every path which he has to follow. So everything which he has to do. So best way to get into this system of learning is just before you say, for example, you write, say, you prepare your own scenarios. That's always a welcome idea. So you prepare your own scenario and then keep the scenario on the door, and then just make a rough blueprint of whatever you've been going to do before you do. So like that, if you do 3 stations per day on your own, that is more than enough for your practice. On your own, 3 stations per day, that means no friend, nothing. So just prepare a scenario and then you try to make down what are the things which I should be doing, whether I'm missing any part of the waterfall. So that is the best way, without depending on anyone, how to correct yourself is whether you have been doing. Then try to perform. So after performing, you will understand, oh, if you see the case, oh, I missed this one, I missed this one. So like that, if you do 5-6 musculoskeletal cases, then you will understand exactly where you are missing every time. Try to make a big chart and then put a flow chart and then put, this is where I'm lacking, this is where I'm lacking. I'm able to do subjective assessment. I'm able to do this part of the objective assessment well, but when it comes to objective assessment, this is where I'm lacking. So try to find out your high frequency mistakes, because teachers, we do have, but you are here for only weekly once, right? You have here for only weekly. That means 1/7 of the time you are spending over here. Only just 1/7 of your time you are spending your time here. So rest of the time you yourself or your group are doing. So if your group is really good, then try to form a high frequency mistakes. So best way is you can ask your friend to make out your high frequency mistakes and then keep you do. So once you do it for 6 weeks, high frequency mistakes, and then try to identify this high frequency mistakes, then you will never forget. So try to take a full white chart and then try to make a chart. I started from here, I went gone through like this, and here then. So next, again do them again musculoskeletal, try to find out. Again here, again musculoskeletal, try to find out. Then you will understand. Take a marker, try to underline what you have missed, and then after that 1 week, if you put a chart and then see like this bird's eye view, you will understand what is the high frequency mistake which you have been done. That means your preparation has been done, because you already done enough preparation. Lunch is ready. Yes.
What we're going to do is we're just going to break for lunch. So I just want everybody to make sure have some lunch. So this is a time we're going to break for half an hour. We'll come back. But this is a time frame where you can interact with each other. You have students. You can interact with them, ask them questions and stuff. But just half an hour. Everybody, we too will be here. They won't be here. So just make sure you use that time. And then we'll come back in half an hour. Okay? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.